Many of us don't know this teaching of Paul, this one line, but we actually know it very well. And that is that this teaching comes at the end of that famous passage that is often read at weddings, was in Wedding Crashers, those of you who have seen the movie 25 times. Love is patient, love is kind, you know the passage. And Paul is talking about love as the highest of spiritual gifts. And the reading as it comes to us in our lectionary and as it comes to us in Wedding Crashers, I believe, ends with, and now faith, hope, and love abide, these three. The greatest of these is love. That's the end of chapter 13. The first half of the sentence in chapter 14, chapters added later, I might add, is make love your aim. In other words, if love is the highest spiritual value, the highest caritas, the divine love, the highest spiritual gift, make that the aim. Now, I believe that make love your aim, those 4 words, are perhaps the best advice we could ever receive about how to live our lives, or the best advice we could ever give to somebody about how to live his or her life. I think it would make a great graduation talk at Notre Dame, for instance. I haven't been invited to give that, though. I also think make love your aim, which is the theme of our annual appeal, works for that too. Now, I would think that you would all agree with me that love is the aim of our lives. I think we can all agree on that it's the meaning of our lives. We are made in love and for love, and our life is measured by the degree that we love. Many of you have heard me say this, and I'll say it again. I have been to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of funerals, and in those remembrances and eulogies given from the lectern, the only thing that people care about is whether or not you loved. They do not care about whether or not you were unemployed, underemployed, or the senior vice president, or you had no kids or 500. They don't care. They just want to know, did you love? That's what people bear witness to. And it seems to me that it only makes sense that if love is the meaning of our lives, that meaning, that disposition of the heart should extend to our checkbook. And that is, in some sense, a way to work your way through all of these theological dilemmas. It no longer matters at some level, if you don't mind my saying, whether or not God provides or you earned it. But do you make love the aim of that which you have in thanksgiving? Now, love, if you were going to take the teachings of the Bible and summarize them, they come, Jesus summarized the law to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And so we would say, as we extend the disposition of love to our bank account, that we are to love ourselves too. This is not the call to torture yourself, to give away all that you have, and so that you're in trouble. This is simply to say that we use these means to love ourselves also. But in addition to that, Jesus does say to us, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And I know, because I know so many of you, and I know the generosity you have with the church. And some of you are so generous with the church, it's just shocking. It's shocking that you give us so much money. And I know that when I talk to you, that you receive an incredible beatitude, a kind of thankfulness for the blessing that you give. And I will tell you that it is incredibly blessed to receive it too. Now, when you make a pledge to the church or a gift to the church, you're giving to a community of love. That's what we are. We are a community of love in Christ. We are a Jesus community. This is not a club. It's not a recreation. It's not an add-on. The church is an institution of divine love in human form. We are living out in our humanity what we are inspired by the divinity that is within us. And we call ourselves St. Mark's Church, but we are really Jesus' church, right? We are a community of Jesus, and that spiritual bond, that in Jesus bond, transcends everything else. In other words, we as a country are deeply divided. And if you were all going to put yourself on a political spectrum right now out in the Great Lawn, you would be unbelievably divided. But you are here today because of Jesus, unified in the love of Christ. And this is one of the few places in our country where this unity together is greater than that which divides us. I would say of things that make me just so deeply happy-hearted, joyful-hearted, it is that we are what I like to call a new commandment community. Jesus, at the Last Supper, at the end of his life, hours before he was arrested, and even a few more hours before he died, gave the so-called new commandment. This is the primary business of Maundy Thursday, along with the institution of the Holy Eucharist. Maundy coming from the new commandment. To love one another as I have loved you. By this, people will know that you are my disciples. And that is the hallmark of our community, is this communal love for one another, and people do notice. This love for one another is our spiritual treasure. This is our true treasure.